These dead plants are the perfect inheritance for the children of a failed dreamer. The stepmother Gabriella smiled cruelly as the notary read the will. David, barely 10 years old, squeezed his 5-year-old sister Emily's hand. He was trying not to tremble. Their father had died 3 days ago. Now the woman who had replaced their mother in Dad's heart. She was taking everything from them, the house, the thriving vineyard, and their future. She was leaving them just 5 acres of dry vines their mother had planted before she died, a ruined shack, and $100 as a sick joke. Your mother died in childbirth. But what Gabriella didn't know was that those dead roots were hiding a secret, and that 2 orphan children were about to build an empire that would bring her to her knees. If this story touched you, leave 2 words below. Thank you, Mom, for every mother who planted something she never got to see bloom. Please note that the following story addresses experiences and situations that may evoke deep emotions related to family, humanity, and personal responsibility. This content is created for educational purposes, encouraging listeners to reflect on understanding compassion and the choices that can leave a lasting impact on life. If you are not ready to engage with these emotions, please consider pausing before continuing. The ceiling fan in the notary's office squeaked like a dying animal. David Anderson, 10 years old, sat in the wooden chair, with his back straight just as his father had taught him. Beside him, Emily, 5 years old, swung her legs that didn't touch the floor, hugging Mr. Bunny, her floppy-eared plush toy. They had buried Dad 3 days ago. Michael Parker, a sweaty 52-year-old man. With a poorly knotted tie, he avoided looking directly at the children. His hands trembled as he unfolded the yellowed document. Across from them, Gabriella Anderson sat back, legs crossed, wearing dark sunglasses despite being indoors. We will proceed with the reading of Mr. Frank Anderson's will. Parker began, clearing his throat. To my wife, Gabriella Anderson, I leave the family home, the main 7-acre vineyard. Currently in production, all winemaking equipment, vehicles, and bank accounts. David's world tilted slightly. Gabriella smiled behind her glasses. What about us? Emily's voice sounded tiny. Parker swallowed hard. To my children, David and Emily Anderson, I leave the workers' shack and the 5 acres on the eastern boundary, previously cultivated by my late first wife, Ellen. Furthermore, a one-time payment of $100 American. $100! David didn't move, he didn't breathe. Inside his 10-year-old chest, something broke, and something else hardened at the same time. The eastern boundary. Gabriella took off her glasses, revealing cold eyes. Ah, the dead section. How appropriate. She leaned forward, looking directly at David. Those dry vines your mother planted while she was pregnant with that child. She pointed at Emily with disdain. Plants that never yielded a single grape, just like your mother's dreams. Ma'am, please, Parker tried to intervene weakly. Please, what their mother, the great Ellen the botanist, she wasted years on those useless plants. And when she finally had this girl, her body collapsed. She turned toward Emily. Your mother paid the price for that pregnancy, and you will live with what she left behind. Now you will live with her failure. It's poetic, don't you think? Emily began to cry in silence. David pulled her tight against his chest, covering her ears. Those dead plants, Gabriella went on, are the perfect inheritance for the children of a failed dreamer. A dump and barren land, that is all you deserve. David looked up. His brown eyes met Gabriella's. He didn't say a thing. He didn't cry. He didn't beg. He just looked at her with an intensity that made her take half a step back. She wasn't a dreamer, David finally said, his voice calm and deadly. She was a botanist. And what did her botany give her? Gabriella laughed. A grave. 2 hours later, David and Emily stood at the entrance of their house, watching as Rosa, the housekeeper with red puffy eyes, stuffed their clothes into black garbage bags. I'm so sorry, children, Rosa whispered. I don't want to do this. It's okay, Rosa, David said, his voice void of emotion. He had decided something in the notary's office. He would never show weakness again. He was the man of the house now. Mom was dead. Dad was dead. It was just the 2 of them left. Rosa slipped something into David's pocket when Gabriella wasn't looking. 20 crumpled dollars and 6 garbage bags. That was all that was left of their lives. Clothes, some books, Emily's stuffed animal, a photo of their parents. That is all. Gabriella appeared at the door. Right, I need that space. David picked up 3 bags. Emily grabbed one with both hands wobbling. David, his sister whispered as they walked down the gravel path. Where are we going to sleep? David stared straight ahead at the dusty horizon. 2 miles away, barely visible under the cruel sun, a small structure rose up between rows of gray, twisted sticks. "We'll see," he lied, trying to sound brave. "We're going to be okay, little sister. I promise." But as they walked in the relentless heat, the bags bumping against his legs, David didn't know if that was a promise he could keep. 500 yards from the shack, Emily couldn't walk anymore. Her 5-year-old legs simply stopped. Her pink sandals kicked up dust with every dragging step. "I can't go on." "David," she whimpered, dropping her bag. Her bag. Without a word, David knelt down. "Hop on my back." Emily climbed up, hugging his neck. David staggered under the combined weight of his sister and the 3 bags he was carrying, but he didn't stop. One step, then another, and another. The 4 o'clock sun beat down like molten lead on their heads. From this distance, he could see the whole vineyard. 5 acres of gray vines twisted like half-buried skeletons. Not a single green leaf, not a sign of life, just endless rows of death under the merciless sky. In the background, almost invisible among the dead plants, stood the shack. When they finally arrived, David set Emily down on the ground and pushed the door open. It had no lock, not even full hinges. The rotten wood creaked, opening into a suffocating darkness. The smell hit him first. Dampness, rat droppings, and something sweet and rotten. David took a step inside, waiting for his eyes to adjust. One room, just one. The roof had a hole the size of a soccer ball in the corner, letting in a beam of light that illuminated the dirt floor covered in animal droppings. Cobwebs hung like gray curtains. In one corner there was a rusty metal bed frame with no mattress. In the other, a wood stove with a half-collapsed chimney. There were no windows, just black holes where the glass used to be. "Not here," Emily said from behind him, her voice trembling. "David, we can't stay here." But they had no choice. David knew it, and Emily knew it too. For the next 3 hours before the sun fully set, David worked harder than he ever had in his life. He used a dry branch as a broom, sweeping the animal droppings out the door. He dragged the stained mattress Gabriella had given them and shoved it into the least dirty corner. Emily helped him as best she could, clearing away the biggest cobwebs with a stick, even though she cried every time she touched one. There was no water. The rusty faucet outside didn't work. It just coughed out dry air when David tried to turn it. There was no light. When the sun went down, the darkness was absolute, and there was no food. "I'm hungry," Emily said, sitting on the mattress. She hadn't eaten in 14 hours. Her voice sounded so small, lost. David dug through his pocket. The $120. He could walk to town early tomorrow to buy bread and beans. "But what about tonight? I have 3 cookies." He lied, remembering they had nothing left. "Do you want them, Emily?" She nodded desperately. David went outside and searched through the bags with shaking hands under the moonlight. Nothing, no food, not even a crumb. But he found something else at the bottom of